updated on all things Lafayette, and today is no exception. We have a great show today and a very special guest. May I suggest you watch us on speaker view, that way you can see me up close and personal. I have everybody muted, so if you'd like to communicate with us, please do so via the chat button. If you have any questions for my guest later in the show, I'll be asking questions, and you can ask those in the chat area as well. Please note that we've added to the bottom of your screen closed captioning, just in case you need it. And that will be happening right now. I first met our guest in 2015. Two AFL members, Benoit Guizard and Bernard Calais from France, contacted me regarding a French student at William & Mary College. This student's American visa was about to expire, and they asked that I write a letter on his behalf. The letter was to ask permission for him to extend his visa a few weeks so that he could be here for the arrival of the Hermione. The Hermione, if you don't know, is a ship that Lafayette came over to the United States on that was rebuilt exactly as a replica and came back to the United States in 2015. I wrote the letter, the visa was extended, and I met this gentleman in Yorktown in June of 2015 when the Hermione docked. I am proud to introduce my friend, my colleague, the founder and president of the Lafayette Trail, Julien Icher. Welcome, Julien.
Thank you
Welcome
so much.
to the show.
Thank you very much. How are you, Chuck?
Please make yourself comfortable.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Julien, please provide our audience with a brief description of the Lafayette Trail.
You know, there is a reason why we are here today. You know, it's a pleasure to be with you, number one.
Thank you, Julien.
But I think you probably have French wine in this house, correct?
We have plenty of French wine in the house.
Have you ever been to France?
I've been to France a couple of times, yeah.
So I think there is a reason for that.
What is that?
And I think it's grounded in history, and more specifically, the early part of this country's history, the American Revolution. And see, to me, that is what's fascinating with somebody like Lafayette, because he came that early. He was 19 years old. I'm not even sure his beard was fully grown when he first came here. And here he has this wonderful impact on the country's independence. He befriends George Washington. He goes around the nation. He helps militarily. He goes back and forth a couple of times, 3 times actually. And then you don't hear from the man for 50 years, 40 years. So if you fast forward to 1824, he is invited back to this country as the last surviving major general. And there's no Twitter, there's no Facebook back then. You know, he's not tweeting George Washington, hey, I'm doing great in France, I'm looking forward to seeing you. It doesn't happen. So for a lot of Americans, he really is, we don't know what happened to Lafayette. So he has this effect, and he comes back in 1824. And I think it's a powerful visit. And so to me, the Lafayette Trail, we do try to work on that tour of 1824 and really to add to that beautiful friendship between our two nations. I think it is my personal contribution to that, I think, framework that our two nations have. And I'm very excited to be here today to explain to our audience what we do and what our plans are for the bicentennial in 2024.
I'm very excited. That's very great. And it's wonderful to have you here, Mr. Icher. So before we talk more about the trail, why don't we get to know you a little bit better, shall we? Where did you grow up, Julien?
I was born in a small town in the south of France. It's called Carcassonne, France. It's you might have known of it because it has a medieval fortress that's actually world famous. It's on the UNESCO list. Carcassonne, unfortunately, here is also known for a board game. It's actually a German board game. And believe it or not, most of the people my age that I meet here, they know Carcassonne, the board game, before they know Carcassonne, the city.
By the way, we're showing the audience pictures of you when you were a younger man.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, I hope it's okay.
Yeah.
But, okay, great.
You're wearing clothing, I promise.
Okay, good. So this is where I was born. So I think it answers your question.
Tell us about your mother and father.
Sure. My mom is a nurse, so she actually recently retired. Congratulations, mom. My dad also recently retired after a full career in the national public education.
Excuse me, I want the audience to know that we're showing a picture of Marie and Francois Icher arriving at Dulles Airport, and just about a little less than a year ago.
That's correct. It was right before the COVID pandemic started, so I think it was timely. But I'm glad they were able to visit here. Yes, absolutely. So back to my dad. My father is a writer. He writes a lot about history. He writes a lot about World War One, World War Two, the trail guilds in the Middle Ages. So he has a lot of variety of topics. He's an accomplished doctor. I'm very proud of his career, and I think you can say that I get more of my personality of an outgoing person from my mom, who spent her entire life caring for other people, and I get more of the interest in history, maybe geography, from my dad. So I think the two together explains obviously who I am, because guess what? I'm their son.
That's right. Now they had another son, did they not? You have a brother.
That is correct. I have an older brother. I think he's about to turn 30, if you can believe it. And also, if you can believe it, that too, he is currently in French Guiana, which also has a connection with Lafayette. So both of their sons are currently in the Americas. So they have to cross the pond to see one of them, two of them.
Well, I know they're both watching tonight, and I know they're both proud of both of their sons, and it was lovely having them here in the United States. And I wanted to say hello to Marie and Francois. Where did you go to university, Julien? What did you study, and where did you go?
So I started in Toulouse for higher education. So I have a bachelor's degree with double majors in history and geography. So that happened in Toulouse. I was in a special program. It's a structure parallel to the public university network in France. It's called the Grande École. So I spent 3 years in Toulouse working on this program, and I finally got into that college, which is called the ENS in Lyon, France. So I went to get two masters there, one in human geography, and the second one in digital geography. So all the technology that surrounds web mapping, incorporating spatial data into web environments. So I think it provides me with a complete package that, of course, explains what the Lafayette Trail looks like.
Now, why did you go, and tell me a little bit about your time at William and Mary?
Yeah, so this is the first time that I came here. It was in 2015. It's unforgettable memories for me as far as I'm concerned. It was amazing. And I just saw so many similarities between our two countries. And it was very interesting to see that here in America, there were many people that were referring to Lafayette in a different way, a national icon in the American Revolution. So of course I knew a little bit, but I just didn't know the outpouring of affection that he enjoyed here in this country. So William and Mary was my first contact with that reality. Colonial Williamsburg, interpreters. So by the way, wherever you live in this country and you're tuning in from, if you look around you, there's probably a county or a street or a city named after Lafayette. So that's how big of an impact he had in this country. And if you go on our website on the Lafayette Trail, we have a lot of resources that show you where he went, as well as the towns and cities named after him in the United States.
Now, you've spent most of the last almost 6 years here in America. Other than family, what do you miss the most about France?
I'm gonna say food, obviously. I love bread. I mean, I'm so sorry, but I love bread. Okay, I make my own.
Are you saying we don't do bread as well as the French?
I'm not. Those are your words. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying, in France, I used to go to get my own bread in the morning when I was in the university. I can't do that here, so I miss that. And even if I do my own bread, it's a little different. So I don't know if it's the regulations. I don't know what it is, but there's definitely something about that.
So on the other side of the coin, what are some of the things you love the most about the United States?
Here there is a special spirit in this country. I think there is an entrepreneurial spirit here that I enjoy a lot because sometimes in my masters I was very energetic, and people very often would tell me, of course in French, but the equivalent of, hold on, you got to calm down here, Lily. Calm down. You're going to be okay. And here I can be who I am, energetic, bouncing around, and I don't feel like I have to change. I can just be who I am, and I'm creating my own company, and I can put my personality into that project without restraints. So I enjoy that, and I think it's a key difference, actually.
Trust me, folks, there's a lot of bouncing around. Um, Share some of the most, or one or two of the most bizarre moments you've had since being in the United States.
Oh, wow. Well, I've traveled a lot, so I mean, I guess I can name a couple.
I think the audience would like to know.
I'm gonna say one. It was in Western Pennsylvania. Actually, I was just documenting what Lafayette did there, which is part of my mission. And you look at the papers. Lafayette crossed from West Virginia into Pennsylvania. He got on up a hill and up all the way up the hill to the left. He drank out of a well. So we looked at this house, and a gentleman, a little aggressive, came out. I was surprised. What are you doing here? And I really felt like I had to go, like, very quickly.
You felt threatened.
Yeah, a little bit. So I asked my friend, that was with me, Ernie, a great friend of mine, and I'm sure he's on the call now. And basically, the I guess when I would say when I when this gentleman left, basically got back inside the house, and by that time I said, what do we do? Do we stay here? No, we had to go. So we left. Obviously, that's one thing. I mean, I was not expecting that at all. I was just honestly, I was just taking a picture. I didn't mean that. I don't know what happened, but basically, that was unexpected. That's number one.
Yeah.
No, and if you,
By the way, I want to pardon everybody. We just had pizza delivered. I'm sorry about that.
that's
Go
okay.
ahead. I'm sorry.
And then I guess the second one, when I was going on a date in Washington D.C. and I almost got run over.
Yeah, that was
So
a bad day.
That also it was not expected.
Right. Yeah,
So
bad
these
day.
are two things that I think I could share here.
Now, I know that one of the most exciting things that happened in your life was your trip with President Macron. And I'd like you to tell the audience a little bit about that. I know many people know about this trip, but I got to believe it. I think you're 27 years old. That's probably the highlight of your life. So I'd like you to share with us a little bit about
Absolutely. Well, it was, I remember the date. It was April 23rd to April 25th, 2018. So President Macron was the first foreign dignitary invited by the executive branch of the federal government here. And it was on a state visit. So the state visit is the highest honor that a president here can give a foreign dignitary. So that foreign dignitary, in this case, President Macron, formed a delegation to go with him. So his office reached out to me to see if I would be interested in being part of that delegation. It's only 50 people. So it was a great honor, obviously, traveling on the presidential plane, preparing for those meetings. And what I like about this meeting, this whole trip, was that it was intense. And I had a feeling that I was really participating personally in the maintaining of the Franco-American alliance. I was here to talk about my work, what I've been doing here, living in this country. And it was an honor. So we did that at the White House. We did that at Congress. I remember watching from the side, basically, President Macron's address in front of a joint session of Congress, which Lafayette was the first to do in December 1824. And it was just a powerful moment for me. So behind President Macron were two paintings, one of Washington and one of Lafayette.
That's exactly
so I
right.
felt like, I am continuing your mission here, sir. I am here and I'm defending your legacy and I'm promoting Franco-American alliance. So to me, it was very powerful. Another moment I remember a lot is when I met now former, he passed away, Congressman John Lewis. I had almost a minute with him at the Capitol. And those are memories that I can't forget. I talked about the Lafayette Trail with him, and I gave him a brochure of the Lafayette Trail, and he took it.
I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. It's an amazing experience, Julien.
Yeah.
Now, did they serve good food at least on the presidential plane?
Yes, absolutely.
You ate well there?
Yeah, it was very good food.
Yeah. This is an interesting question. I thought about this question. It's thought-provoking. Do you see any similarities between yourself and Lafayette?
It's kind of hard to answer this question without sounding obnoxious.
I don't want you to sound obnoxious.
So I'm going to do my best, okay? I feel like we have this I share the same drive to explore this country's history. To me, um, the differences that I mentioned a few minutes ago, cultural differences, not just the bread and the wine, but the spirit that you see here, this drive to move forward, to get things done. And I can't help form a country because guess what? You have a country, it's here.
It's true.
But I can contribute to national unity, very similar to what Lafayette did 200 years ago. So I can do that. I can go out there in the public and I can uh, bring my understanding of Lafayette's legacy, and I can articulate all those angles of his legacy. Lafayette and abolitionism, Lafayette and the military. I want to paint a full picture of his legacy. And I think today I can continue this mission that he started. So this is to me how I would feel you could connect basically the the desire to learn more about American culture and to get involved here in this country to make the country a better place.
I don't find that obnoxious at all, Julian.
Okay.
Although the chats are coming in, many people do feel you're obnoxious.
I do not have any iPad. I can't see anything.
What motivated you to start the Lafayette Trail? What was the genesis that motivated you to start this?
Do you mean the company?
The company
So
incorporated.
the company was really a natural outgrowth of the idea. So, when I started considering I wanted to stay here for a longer period, very quickly, the need to have a legal structure to host that idea was obvious. That idea came to me. So naturally, I want to form that company to host this and start really what's really the powerful, I guess, drive behind any project of that endeavor, basically, the funding. So that structure allowed me to move forward, constitute a board of director, and start basically the fundraising that is so needed to keep our operations going across 25 states.
And I am honored to be one of the board of directors of your company, a very well-run company, I might add.
Thank you very much. So happy to have you, Chuck.
What aspect of your life has changed since the start of the Lafayette Chair? What aspect has changed the most since you started this company?
I'm used to classes in college. I was used to that. I was used to going to the, college start at 8, finishing at 6, 5 or 6. So here I have more of a nomadic way of life.
Oh, yeah.
I go from literally one house to another, trying to document what Lafayette did. And that, if you know a little bit what Lafayette's tour is about, and he also got a nickname during that tour. It was the nation's guest. So because of that nomadic way of life that I have today, I've been called now the nation's house guest, which is basically a continuation of his legacy, but I think adapted to the 21st century.
Yeah, well, you are quite a house guest. We enjoy you from time to time. And I know that many other AFL members have you've gone from house to house, and you've gotten to know a lot of people around the country. So,
Absolutely.
how many markers have you shown how many markers have you placed so far?
It's a good question. We have markers approved and markers installed. So approved, we have about 30 markers approved. We have a goal of 175, by the way, by 2024 around the country. And of those 30 that have been approved, we have about 15 that are on the ground. So you can see those markers that are installed. Again, on our website, on the LafayetteTrail.org, there is a section of the website that shows you where those markers are installed. And we have many, many more in the works. Just today, I was finishing a marker application. There are many coming.
I think I was with you this week. I thought you got like 5 this week. It's amazing.
Yeah. So
now you look. So it's 170. And by the way, we're showing this wonderful sign here that everybody can see.
So if they can see, the design really is symbolic. Those are the colors of France and the US.
Yes.
So we want to send that message that through Lafayette, we really talk about the relationship between those two nations. And that design is made so that we can actually express in a very evident manner that message of Franco-American alliance. So I'm very lucky to have great partners just like your organization, the William G. Palmero Foundation in New York, and many others that make this project possible. And those markers with the logo of the Lafayette Trail on top, they really create a unified structure of markers. Every single time you see one of those Lafayette Trail markers, you can bet 100% that the language that is on the marker is supported fully by primary source documentation. And Chuck, what do I mean by primary source documentation? I mean
But I'm the one asking the questions here, Julian.
Well,
what do you mean by primary source?
Okay, fine. Go ahead. Good. Do you feel better about this?
I do.
Okay, good. So primary source documentation is a newspaper that was published around the date that Lafayette visited a locality. So this is a direct source of information that we need in order to install a marker just about anywhere. So because of those requirements, we are able to get out there and say, we have this layer of markers and they are all very thoroughly studied and vetted before they are approved and installed.
So
And I think it's important.
I know you do a lot of research, so you're not taking somebody's word on this. You
No.
are going back, you're looking at, like you said, primary source documentation.
Correct.
Let's get back to the marker itself, the logo, actually. I want to talk about the logo.
Yeah.
Let's give a shout out. Who designed that logo?
So it's a gentleman by the name of Joseph Kowalski. I think
Okay.
he works at the Pentagon.
Okay.
I think he's an artist.
He is an artist.
And it is my understanding that he doesn't live that far from you. Matter of fact, just a couple houses, I believe.
He could be on the other side of that wall, right?
He could also, yeah, that's true.
Okay.
But I think it's a beautiful logo. So Joe was kind enough to do that design for us and let us have all the rights on it. So I would like to thank him, obviously, if he were here. But obviously, he's done a fantastic job.
I think he's watching us right now.
Okay, well, I hope so.
So what I'd like you to do now is share something with us, all us Lafayetteists, that we might have not have known, something that you might have uncovered while doing your research, or maybe even debunked that you thought that everybody thinks did happen that didn't happen.
Chuck, this is a great question because there are many traditions about Lafayette's tour, and very often when I travel around the nation, somebody will tell me, Julien, we love Lafayette in my family because he danced with my great grandmother. And when I start hearing this, I love it. But I'm always thinking of what it's going to take me in order to get a marker approved, which is the data that I just referred to, the newspaper account that will support that claim. But very, very often this happens to me. So for instance, if you want an example or two, I'm thinking in Georgia, for instance, a little town of Clinton, Georgia. You have there is a tradition that he went there. And so sometimes people ask me, is that true that Lafayette went there? And so I found a newspaper clipping that was quoting the governor of Georgia saying, Lafayette did not go to Clinton. He wrote me a letter, and this is it. The governor in a newspaper is reported to say that Lafayette is not going to go this way for a certain reason. And then later on in that newspaper article, you have a quote from Lafayette himself saying, I'm so sorry, I can't go to Clinton. We're gonna go a different way because we gotta go. So when I have this data, if the governor of Georgia at the time in Lafayette say both, it's probably true.
So you have to give bad news in this situation. You have to let the people, because the people in Clinton, Georgia are saying to you, hey, we get a sign because he was here, and you got to be the one that says, sorry, I can show you that he really was not.
But this is one example out of many. You asked me for one, I could give you plenty of those. Yeah. But it's very important that, for instance, some of our resources, we accept secondary data to welcome that passion that is grounded in the communities. I think it's important. We don't want to turn people away. We just want to say that for the marker program itself, we have the specific requirements. Now, for those memories, I want those memories to circulate. I'm just like you. I would love people to find out more about Lafayette, get excited about the man. And I think a good way to do that is not to turn people away or off because they have an idea and unfortunately the paper is not there. I think there are many ways that they can still be part of that conversation. And
sure. It
is also part of my job to extend an olive branch to people to explore other ways of partnership.
That's great. So it's not necessarily bad news. You're just changing the news for them. Yeah. Because there's a town close by there where you went to, and if there's a marker there, they can be part of that.
Absolutely.
I believe when you do put these markers on the ground, you have some type of ceremony. There's a celebration. Yeah. And that way other people could be involved.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now I know it's been smooth sailing, but I know it's not always perfect sailing. Tell me some of the challenges you face right now with the Lafayette Trail, please.
I think number one, obviously, I'm going to say it's funding. Just like any nonprofit in the COVID environment, I think there is funding is of the essence to us to maintain our activities around the country. So, I'm very often we do solicit people's help. So if you do if you do want to be part of our project and support our operations from Maine to Louisiana, I invite you to go on our website and try to see if you would consider making a donation to support us. That would be, to me, number one.
And I think, Julien, she's putting your URL up on the screen right now.
Yeah, so we have several ways to donate for those of you who are interested, even just learn more. We can become a member of the Lafayette Trail. We have exclusive resources. We have a newsletter that my treasurer, John Basica, is a fantastic researcher too. He does an amazing job. He has all the stories to share. In our recent newsletter, we had a story about Quiz, Lafayette's dog during the tour. We have many, many stories, as well as all those emails that are about the dedication ceremonies. So please, if you are interested in this work, go to our website, and we would appreciate it if you'd help us keep our operations.
Okay, let's move on. So you've been all over the country, 28 different states.
That's correct.
In only a few years. If you were to settle down, where in the United States would you choose to live?
So, I mean, a place that has good bread, close second, good wine. So, California is good, but it's far. I mean, this is far from here.
Yeah, and Lafayette's never been to California.
There is a Lafayette, California.
There is a Lafayette, California.
So, Virginia also, I hear some, sometimes good wine. Is that correct?
Not bad. Yeah, pretty good wine.
Okay.
I hear Maryland has good wine.
Okay.
Just throwing it out there.
Well, okay. Well, to me, those are things I would consider, obviously.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
you don't have to trust me.
No, you're a single man. I know you're a single man, so you're probably going to be going where maybe the most beautiful ladies are. Here, that could be maybe in the South.
That could be a consideration.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
So we'll have to figure that out.
Absolutely.
You work incredibly hard on the trail. I'd like to know, share with our audience, what do you do in your spare time? What do you do for fun?
So this country has its own sports. These are not the sports that I grew up with. So I have come to look around and see what sports are available here. And one of the sports that I've gotten into is football. So I have my own teams, that's fine. I've picked my own teams. I don't know if I should mention them there.
Yeah, who are you rooting for in the Super Bowl, Julien?
I used to live in Boston, close to. So, people kind of heavily supported the Patriots up there. So I started, following them. And then their quarterback, I believe, is now playing for the Buccaneers.
He is, yes.
So he has a nice streak, right? I mean, he's in for the numbers.
9th Super Bowl.
So, maybe this is something you want to follow. Maybe this is something you want to get behind to get that record.
It is my sincere hope that rooting for the Buccaneers doesn't hurt your donations.
I hope so.
That's all I can say.
Well, for this year. So football is one thing, I love to walk. I also like to code new stuff on my website, creating new widgets or fixing the map or adding new data. And I love meeting new people. I love to chat about our experiences and what, the backgrounds we come from, how they differ, how we connect with my work or the values that our countries share. So those are things that I enjoy a lot, absolutely.
But I got to say, you work hard. You don't have a lot of spare time. I've seen it. I know Bill has seen it. Sarah's seen it. And there's not a lot of spare time in Julien Icher's life. But
football, if you think you can trust me with football, you can. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, now we're going to get to some questions from the audience, and I have some right here, and Bonnie's going to give me some also. The question is number one, and Miss Producer, who asked this question? May I ask?
We had several requests for merch and T-shirts.
Oh, so they're asking, Julien, they're asking for merchandise and T-shirts and whatnot.
We're looking into it actually, because as it grows, we have this beautiful logo. We have pins of this logo that have been made. So we're looking at that merchandising in the future. So it's good to know that people are interested in that product. So certainly keep it in mind. But I think we'll see if we can make it happen. I don't want to make any commitments just yet, but I would love to explore that idea.
And maybe that's a great way to fundraise.
That's a good idea too.
Maybe. So I've got a question here from Dale Henley.
Okay.
Do you plan to visit Lexington, Kentucky, where Lafayette stayed May 16th, 17th, 1825?
Yes, absolutely. So this is a very important stop on the Lafayette Trail. Kentucky is one of the states that he visited, Lexington for sure. So I've been working with local organizations there, Sons of the American Revolution, a lodge of Freemasons as well. So I have identified the location of the Masonic lodge that Lafayette was received at. He was a Mason himself, as you know. And I'm trying to see if we can place that marker there. For those of you who are familiar with that area, it's called Triangle Park. It's in Lexington, Kentucky. So, and of course, Lexington is also a special place because there's a Fayette County right next to
That's
it,
right.
which
That's
is arguably the oldest in the nation, 1780. So
there's a county from 1780.
named after
So that's
Lafayette.
pre-tour.
Yeah. So most of the towns that are named after Lafayette are named after him because of the tour.
Right.
But there are a few exceptions that are towns, counties named after Lafayette before 1824. So just a few to name here. You have the Lafayette County that I just mentioned in 1780. You have also a Fayette County in Pennsylvania that was also created in 1783.
Near Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, 1783, right next to Westmoreland County in south of Pittsburgh. And then as far as city goes, cities go, you have Fayetteville in North Carolina.
Sure.
1783 was renamed after Lafayette. So you have several occurrences like that. But most of the cities, if you look again on our website on the Lafayette Trail, you'll see we have a map displaying where the stops are. And if you look at the map closely, you will see, everybody out there, you will see that they are located along the Mississippi River, which at the time were the newer states in the Union. So people, to show their patriotism to Lafayette when he was in the country, basically some of them decided to name cities after him. So I think it's very interesting to see that people in the newer states at the time would want to pick Lafayette's name to show patriotism and that they were just as American as the other states on the East Coast. To me, is a fascinating story. So again, on the Lafayette Trail website, you will have those resources available for free.
And the furthest west he went was St. Louis.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So the Mississippi River is really the line that delineates Lafayette's tour. So all the states at the time, 24 and 25 now, if you count West Virginia.
Now, my next question is from Sarah Gillens. Now,
Okay.
I believe Sarah taught you how to bake bread.
You're exactly right.
So I'm going to look in the camera and say thank you, Sarah.
I want to say, Sarah, I did justice to your recipe. I have not failed you once. And I think I can ask maybe Chad, because I believe you have tasted the bread, correct?
It's unbelievable. I can't believe my pants still fit. Thank you very much,
Well,
Sarah.
so thank you, Sarah.
All right, so her question is, and you're going to have to explain this.
Sure.
How did you react to 40 inches of snow covering your car? Have you had any other surprises from Mother Nature?
You know, that's, I was not prepared for this. I mean, no, because I want to see Sarah. Sometimes I do that because up there, she helps me tremendously in southwestern New Hampshire with markers. By the way, New Hampshire is doing great. New Hampshire is leading the way with the markers. We have many markers installed and many more to come in the eastern part of the state around Portsmouth, Greenland, that area. We're very excited. But I was there recently and they got hammered with a snowstorm. So I didn't think I would stay there that long. But I ended up staying because she's so nice. She let me stay a little bit. And my car, in the morning, I wake up. Where's my car? I just can't see my car.
It was covered?
It was covered with snow. So I was not ready. I don't have the equipment there. Lucky me, they know how to handle winters up there. I will tell you that. And Sarah and her husband helped me out with equipment. And that car, before you know it, it was all cleared. And it enjoyed a beautiful ride for just a few minutes just to warm up the engine. So my car survived just like I did because of Sarah's help. So yes, it's definitely a teaching experience. You know, if you want to have gas in the winter, you might want to make sure that there's no water in your gas, stuff like that.
You learned that?
Yeah, you know. So now you know as a mechanism that you have to think of these things.
Now, other people have been also teaching you how to cook during the course of your time. I know you learned in Yorktown how to make a very special salad.
That's correct.
I think in, let me think now, in
Hopkinton, New Hampshire.
Yeah, you learned how to make pancakes?
That's exactly right.
I've eaten those pancakes. I've eaten that salad.
Hold on a second. There's also something else from Hopkinton, New Hampshire. There's that hot fudge.
Oh yeah, you made hot fudge.
Now that was good also. You got to give me that. That was delicious.
Very delicious.
And that is Dee Dee's recipe, actually. Dee Dee's mom's recipe. So I did justice to that as well. Thank you, Dee Dee. She's also a board member of the Lafayette Trail, just like John Bessica, and we're so happy to have you both. Thank you.
This question comes from Aaron Trinell, and I'm so sorry. Now, she's neighbors with your parents in France, correct?
Correct.
And what's the name of the town they're from?
Con Minervois.
Now, I think, Aaron, you're watching today from France. I'm sure it's very late there. Thank you for being here. And I want to make sure we ask your question. Now, first of all, she says she misses you.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. I will next time I'm able to travel. You bet I will come to you.
You can go back. You couldn't go back now if you wanted to.
No, but COVID makes it harder too, also. But no.
How and when did your interest and even passion for Lafayette come about?
You know, we have a very heavy program in history in France, just I'm sure like you do here in this country. So professors don't have the time I think they need to go in details about somebody like Lafayette. So we had a general understanding of the man, more specifically, I think, his role in the French Revolution. But this is really the basis that I think most French men and women have after they got out of high school. So to me, what ignited that passion for Lafayette was really the time of William and Mary, 100%. You know, studying the way the living history museums use reenactors to stage history. That really got me into the world of Lafayette. That's when I met you for the first time. You know, I remember at the Hermione, you mentioned that at the beginning. I remember a lady, I can't remember her name. You know, I said, "Where's Chuck Schwab? Where is he?" And she said, "He's the gentleman there, salt and pepper hair." So, you know, I'm not sure I could find you with that description today, but back then it worked out.
Are you saying it's more salt and pepper?
Those are your words. I can speak for that.
So I gotta say, obviously, he's always been the symbol between our two countries.
Absolutely.
So I gotta believe that was part of it for you as well.
Yes.
And being in a place where Lafayette spent so much time, Williamsburg, Virginia. So.
Yeah. So this is, you know, there is he was given an honorary degree by William and Mary during the tour. So I found out later on about that, but now that I found it, I've seen a photo of it. It's just the connections never stop. You know, if you go to a small town again in Western PA, you'll find a memorial to Lafayette. I mean, it just never stops. And the more you look into the man, the more fascinated you are by his legacy and by the connections between our two nations. That's truly what I believe, and that's why I'm here, actually.
I have another question from AFL member Guy Benoit, and he asks, do you know when and where Lafayette during the tour was rescued? I love this story, so I'm glad he asked this question. Rescued when a boat was sailing and sank. The boat sank. Could you tell people about that?
Yeah, that's gotta be May 8th, 1825 off the top of my
Can you
head.
tell me exactly what time that was?
Yeah, it's probably Eastern time or Pacific.
Okay, I like Eastern time.
So basically, he was going up to Louisville, and there was a shipwreck. The mechanic was the name of the ship.
And he was on the boat?
He was on the boat, just like he was, you know, his son, George Washington Lafayette, the dog. So the boat sunk, and the story is fascinating because they got ferried across overnight, they survived, but there was a competition between the three boats that wanted to rescue him, the Highland Lady, the Patriot, and the Paragon.
So they knew there was a famous man.
Probably.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is one of the ships said to the others, "You know what? You folks are bound to New Orleans. You don't have the power, and you don't have the power to make the determination as to whether or not you can make a U-turn and bring Lafayette back to Louisville, because that's where he's going.
Right.
I, on the other hand, not only do I own the boat, but I also am the armator. So I can make the decision right now. Therefore, I'm going to take Lafayette on my boat." Well, then it didn't work out that well for the captain of the Patriot. That's the man that did that, because the captain of the Paragon was on the boat with Lafayette when it sank, and basically offered the Paragon, who came first, to rescue Lafayette. So the Paragon got away with the reward, who was America's favorite fighting Frenchman.
Did Lafayette get wet that day?
I think he did.
He probably had a swim or something?
Yeah, maybe, you know, I mean, water, there's probably very likely somebody swum here and there. But yeah, I mean, I found a newspaper article saying, "Hey, we found a trunk that belonged to Lafayette. Let's send it back to him." So those are the kind of treasures, discoveries that I have. I have a huge database of papers, hundreds and hundreds of newspaper clippings covering all the states, 320 and more communities. And we try to share as much as we can in our newsletter with John, and it's a lot of work, but you know, we're trying to get it out there because we have a milestone coming up in 2024, and we just want to be ready for it.
Okay, so I have a few questions here from Ingrid Wood.
Okay.
And I'm going to try.
Hi, Ingrid.
Hi, Ingrid. which state has the most markers currently, or which state? Yeah, currently which state has the most? It's New Hampshire, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I think New Hampshire.
And which state do you think will have the most markers?
Oh,
in the
it
end?
could be. In 1824, states that have a lot of, because the newspapers were in the urban centers. So the newspapers would cover more. If you have more urban centers, obviously you'll have a better coverage. So Pennsylvania, at the time, Pittsburgh, you have on the east side, you have Philadelphia, Lancaster, York in the middle. Pennsylvania has a lot of stops. I'm hoping we can have a lot of markers there. Obviously, Virginia as well. We went to see many presidents there. We're making great progress in Virginia as well. I am very hopeful about a marker in Yorktown, which is dear to my heart because there's a lot of French connections there.
Yeah.
So those are two big ones. New Hampshire, Massachusetts also have plenty. But honestly, when we have the data to place those markers, I'm just gonna try to explore those opportunities, because sometimes you don't have the data, you have the enthusiasm, but it lacks the data. So when you have the data available, even if it's harder, sometimes there's a lot of bureaucracy to go through because it's protected by, I don't know, regulations or whatever. But I want to give it a shot, and I want to give everybody a chance, if we can, to be included on the Lafayette Trail, because that dialogue, I think, as many people as we can. That's what we want. We want as many people as we can to join that conversation.
Do you anticipate a marker in Missouri?
Yeah, I would love to.
Indiana?
Yep.
Illinois?
Yeah.
Those are probably single markers, probably, or multiple markers?
There may be a couple. St. Louis probably is going to be one. Illinois probably one as well. Maybe we'll see. St. Louis definitely. So in the West at the moment, Indiana in Jeffersonville, we are pursuing an opportunity there. It's right across from Louisville. Very interesting connection there. So yeah, I would love to at least have one marker in each state. I think that would do justice to Lafayette's legacy in the sense that he was a traveling exhibit of the revolutionary spirit. So in order to, fulfill that legacy, I think it's important that every state is included on the trail. I think this is a good goal to have, and we're certainly going to try to do that.
And I know she's asking about upcoming markers. I mean, I've heard you talking about Niagara Falls. I know you're very excited about that.
Very excited about that, yeah.
What other ones are coming up that we should know about?
We're going to have one soon in Fayetteville, North Carolina. We're going to have one soon in Derry, New Hampshire, which is close to home of our wonderful president, Alan Hoffman.
Hey, boss. How you doing?
Alan.
Good to see you, Alan.
So we have those ones. We have... I have one soon in Mississippi. I think is going to turn out to be a definitive yes very soon. Milledgeville, Georgia is going to be installed in the next few months, I think. I hope so hard. I mean, many states will have one.
Well, I'm interested in presidential markers. So you're doing one at Andrew Jackson. You've done one at
Yeah.
Now, what about, let's say, Monticello or Mount Vernon?
It's in the works. So, we want to see if it is possible to do marker dedications for those presidents' birthdays. So, next year maybe for George Washington, we could do it for President's Day if it's doable. Thomas Jefferson will be in April. Madison will be in March. So we have conversations with those presidential mentions. I mean, right now I'm actively working on a marker at the house of former President James Madison in Virginia. As you pointed out, Andrew Jackson's a done deal as well. So the presidential mentions are definitely a target of us. There's a reason why Lafayette visited all of those persons. And I want to make sure, again, we fulfill that legacy by acknowledging stops at all of those presidents' houses, if it is possible again.
So we have a few more minutes. I'm going to try to read some of the chat questions here.
Okay.
Okay, let's see if I can...
There's a lovely and single woman in Virginia who would like to know how he got into geography.
Wait, time out. Did you say lovely and single?
Yeah.
That's great.
Could we get her name and number, please? Could you get that for us? Because I know he's looking for donations, but there's other things too. Now, what was the question? I couldn't get past young and single. Please, what was the question?
I didn't say young, lovely.
Lovely, I'm sorry.
How did I get into geography? Was the question?
Okay.
In France, they teach geography and history in the same package. So I always had the two to connect it together. And to me, I chose geography because I thought it would open more doors later on in my life. So I started thinking about mapping at first, using actual maps.
Mm.
But then as part of that geographic course, there were possibilities to use to select special majors. So I wanted an emphasis on GIS, so Geographic Information Systems, which basically is the technology that allowed me to map out the tour of Lafayette as well as the stops he made. So, in the first place, you learn how to digitize this data, and then you learn how to put it out there on the web. So very naturally, I have gotten these new skills through the geographic door, and I think it was a good decision on my part, because if you look at the Lafayette Trail today, sure, there is a very obvious historical component to it because of Lafayette's tour Franco-American relations. But what about all the website work? What about all the GIS, the databases behind that?
Sure.
There's a lot of back end work there at play. And again, the form, the structure of the Lafayette Trail, I think has a lot to do with my personal background and the degrees I have.
And haven't you kind of even become a cartographer in a certain way?
Yeah, you could say
It's
that.
kind of
Absolutely,
amazing.
yeah. So if you look at all the geo-referencing tools that are on the website, those are things that I studied in depth when I was in Lyon, where I did my 2 masters.
Perfect.
So I miss Lyon. Great food in Lyon.
Some of our members are asking, what can they do to help you with the Lafayette sale? And I know, folks, there's no doubt about it. He needs funding. There's no doubt about that. And if you can donate, please do. But I think what they're asking here is, if they know Lafayette came to their town and they want to help you get a sign commission for that town,
Yeah.
how can they help?
So I'm a fan of local. I think the local level is very important. In America, there are many layers of governance, and the local level, ultimately, when you want to place a marker, they will have the final word about that because this is their town or their city. So I don't know the structure in each town in the country. I mean, I'm getting to send a lot of emails around the country, but when you have partners with the local partners in the locals, they can facilitate connections with the town's elected officials. They can say, "Hey, Julian, we met this person last year, and he spoke to the mayor about Lafayette's visit, and I think you should connect." Or write a letter of recommendation if it's a historical society to their town's government, securing permission to place a marker on public property, or simply help organize the dedication of a marker, a Lafayette Trail marker in your community. Those are a lot of ways in which you can help, because uh, the mapping on the website or the processing of applications, this is one thing, but then there's all the work surrounding the installation of a marker. That demands a lot of work. Again, I'm helped tremendously by John Bessica for that. But I think locally we could use some support there also. When we're looking at one of your towns, if you are on our mailing list of members of the trail, you can raise your hand and say, "You know what? I can help you there. I know somebody. We're going to get this done." So that happened to me many times in the past. And I can tell you that it has an impact on how successful ultimately the inquiry is, because you get the support from the locals.
And just think, if you help Julian and you're there for the celebration, you're there for the sign, raising of the sign, it's a very exciting day. So people, you can contact Julian on his website. There's a contact form on his website, and all the help he can get, please. We want to get these 175 signs into the ground. Bonnie, did you say we had some other? By the way, I just want to thank my wife, Bonnie. She's producing today's program. She's doing a wonderful job. Let's hear it for Bonnie. She's doing a fabulous job. There you go. That's her thumb, everybody. That was
Thumbs
her
up.
thumb. Bonnie, did you say we had some other questions?
Can other organizations sponsor a marker?
Well, just in case they didn't hear, can other organizations sponsor a marker?
So we have an exclusive agreement with our main partner, the William G. Pomeroy Foundation. So we don't make you can't sponsor a marker, but if you're looking to have your name on the marker, that might be hard.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're looking to help us assist to sponsor a marker, we welcome, of course, financial help for that. But as far as the marker design, it's not very flexible because, again, of those requirements we have.
But maybe if they want to sponsor one, they can say a few words at the celebration.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and we do that.
Yeah.
We have done that many times. As a matter of fact, we will do that in Milledgeville, Georgia. We will do that in other markers. So this is a way, absolutely, thanks for pointing it out, Joey. This is a way definitely that you can support and assist us in the process.
Bonnie, do we have any other questions? A lot of questions, right?
Mhm.
That's good.
You're deciphering through them.
And by the way, if those are questions I can answer, feel free to direct those questions to me, and as much as I can, I will be happy to answer those questions directly after the session is over. Please, please feel free to send those messages to me directly.
Are there plans for a sign in Washington, D.C.?
Yes.
Are there plans for a sign in Washington, D.C.?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, he spent the winter there.
So are you thinking Lafayette Square?
Could be. A matter of fact, we are working with the United States Navy in Washington D.C. to see if we can have a marker.
The Navy Yard.
The Navy, yeah. So those are works that are in progress. Lafayette Square, obviously. I mean, there are many stops he made in Washington D.C.
Sure.
So I am trying to get a hold of the mayor of Washington D.C. We are,
she's a little busy right now.
Yeah, she's very busy. But I'm hoping that the message that Lafayette bears and the message we're trying to put out there will energize persons in her team to see if we can connect.
Right.
That's
great. I mean, he wintered. He spent most of the winter of 1824.
Yeah,
DC,
he did.
Right?
He did a couple stops, here and there.
He went to Baltimore,
Annapolis mostly. Annapolis in
yeah.
December. But this is really where they created they laid out the journey in the South. So the Postmaster General McLean, Mr. McLean, the Postmaster General in the U.S., as well as Washington's son, George Washington Lafayette, and another French engineer known as Simon Bernard, the three of them actually helped lay out the journey in the South. And that was done when he was in Washington, D.C. So the time in Washington, D.C. is consequential in many ways. It really is. So I would love to have a marker there, aside from the fact that there is the most famous square named after him in the country, I believe.
I believe it's for me, it's the most famous park in the world.
Yeah.
Just
There's another one that we're working on, in Buffalo, New York. So I did try to contact them. Unfortunately, it was right after the Bills lost. So
the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. So
nobody replied.
Not yet.
I think they're still upset about that.
Yeah, but you know what? They have demonstrated interest. So I think they'll get over it.
Okay.
And I think we'll get it done.
Okay.
I really believe.
There's always next year.
Always next year for that, 100%.
Does Julien plan on coming back to Kentucky for a visit this spring?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Kentucky is a state dear to my heart, as you know.
For the audience should know that Julien is an official Kentucky Colonel. So he, in fact, he has a license plate holder. He's got a card. You're an official Colonel.
It's a Kentucky. Yes.
Does that mean you can make chicken? What's that mean?
No. Are you thinking of maybe a KFC?
I am. Is that what that has?
No. So I am an ambassador also of the Commonwealth
of
Kentucky. This is on a different title, but they have shown this respect for my work in Kentucky by giving me those titles, and I want to respect that, and I want to get more markers there because. Again, there was a lot of stops he made there.
Right. And he met with Andrew Jackson.
But it was in Tennessee.
Oh, that was in Tennessee.
But
how many presidents did? And I know they weren't all presidents at the time. But how many presidents did he?
Well, you have John Quincy Adams that took over during the tour.
Right.
You have James Monroe.
Right.
You have Thomas Jefferson. You have John Adams. You have Madison.
5.
Andrew Jackson, that would become president later on.
Yeah.
And, George Washington was dead, but he went to Mount Vernon as well.
Yeah. Well, very good. Thank you. Mona, do you have more questions for us?
Are there any living ancestors of Lafayette that are aware of the trail?
I think so. Yeah.
I think we might have somebody watching that is aware of the trail. I
think so.
I believe that Pierre Chambron might be watching us today from France.
Yeah.
So, and he's a Lafayette descendant and an AFL member, so he might be watching us. Hello, Pierre.
I do want to say about we have plans in the future too. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about it, please.
What we have next. We are about to release a web series about the Lafayette Trail in the state of North Carolina, which is a very exciting milestone for us. So please look for the trailer of that web series that will be shared later maybe in the next few hours, maybe in the next few days, it will announce what will come next. And over the next few weeks, February, we will share some episodes one at a time with, I think, a 1 week increment, something like that.
Right.
But it will match the timeline of Lafayette during the tour, because he was in North Carolina at the end of February, February 26, 1825 until March 6, 1825. So I think the timeline matches perfectly history here.
Now, these are just little 5-minute clips, but I've seen one of them. They're very well done. The production value is off the charts. So I got to say, they can go on your website, see these videos, and these videos will keep you updated on what's going on with the trail.
And please follow us on our social media channels. We are very active on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We have a great social media coordinator as well. Her name is Ashley. She's doing a tremendous job too. I'm getting a lot of help there as well. One of my great friends near Yorktown, Kat, is also helping us tremendously with that. So great ideas. It's just it's growing. That's what I want to tell people. This is an idea that was just at the beginning an idea to create a cultural trail to increase understanding between our two peoples, and it's growing. And it's getting, its own company. We have markers, we have partners. We're getting attention on media.
I'm getting all excited here.
So this is the message I want to say. But we do need help. That's the thing. We grow, and in this growing process, of course, any assistance is needed, 100%.
Bonnie, I think we have time for one more question if you have one.
There's a lot of questions and a lot of comments about locals, so I'm sure we'll pass those on. But the most recent question had to do with, it's true that at the beginning Lafayette thought he may only be here in the States for 4 months, but he ended up staying longer.
Let me repeat that. The question is, Lafayette was intended only to stay for 4 months. How many months did he end up staying?
He stayed 13 months.
And did he only anticipate staying for 4 months?
I think it's fair to say the tour was not intended to be that long at the beginning. However, for a variety of parameters, importantly, I think the outpouring of affection that the American people displayed toward Lafayette, as well as several commitments that Lafayette made early on during the tour. For instance, laying the cornerstone of the Bunker Hill Monument on June 17, 1825. So think about it. If you're in August 1824 and very quickly after landing in New York, you go to Boston and you make that commitment to be back for Bunker Hill, you have to stay. I mean, you think he's going to fly back? Probably not.
No, there was no flying.
So,
Well, everybody wanted to see him. I mean, it was amazing. So he thought he was not prepared for the outpouring of love. There's no way.
No, it was not. And to me, this is one of the beauties too. We're just around 10 years before Tocqueville starts his tour and writing, famous writings. And with Lafayette, you have the first, I would say, this tradition now, but people study Tocqueville for saying like every society has a tendency toward embracing Republican democracies, or at least ideas like that. I think Lafayette really paved the way for those writings, and his tour has a different substance, but definitely there is a continuity here that led to Tocqueville's writings, 100%.
Well, before we close shop, I want to do a little plug for my organization, and that's the American Friends of Lafayette. You can find us at www.friendsoflafayette.org. And I want to talk about our next series in our Zoom series. And that's going to be the last Friday in February. The 26th at 5 p.m. is our next Zoom presentation. And the title is Taking a Ringside Seat on Lafayette's Tour. And Alan Hoffman, my boss and AFL president and translator of Gust Lavasseur's Lafayette in America in 1824 and 1825, will present a farewell tour primer. Diane Shaw, the lovely Diane Shaw, AFL curator and special collections director emerita at Lafayette College, will discuss the art and artifacts of the Lafayette tour. And Julien, you're in this one too.
Oh.
Did you know you were?
I had no idea. Is
Where
that
are
right?
You gonna be are you going to be around on February 26th?
Probably.
I guess so, because you are an AFL Life member. Yes, he is a member of our organization. And you're the president and founder of the Lafayette Trail. And you're going to offer highlights of researching the trail.
I will be very happy to do that.
Please join us on February 26th for this exciting AFL panel. Please go to to Julien's website, thelafayettetrail.org. Please, you'll see his map there, all his hard work. You can donate, you can join his organization, but it's a very dynamic, great website. And I just wanted to say thank you very much, Bonnie Fritz. Thank you very much, Joe and Jennifer Kowalski, for being in our audience. And thank you, Julien Icher, for being a wonderful, wonderful guest.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
all for attending today. Thank you.
Thank you, Julien. Thank you very much.
Thank you.